Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. Another week, another property ideally located by a lake. This one, the El Vado Lake, up in the northern part of the state. I will tell you guys that much like the last property we listed by a lake in this region, this is part of a subdivision that I have never previously before bought, sold, or listed land in. This is one actually I've been trying for some time to buy some property in because I had read some things that led me to believe, oh, this is a really good subdivision. It's got X, Y, and Z. Then you buy the property, you start digging into it more for the purposes of writing this listing page, of doing this video, whatnot. And you come to learn that there's actually a lot more to like about this property than just, the X, Y, and Z that I mentioned. I actually discovered a lot about the subdivision that I think you guys are going to react well to. Number one. And number two, of course, it's in a region of the state where we've listed a bajillion properties in the past, and there's a lot to like about this region. It's not one of these regions where there's only 2 or 3 things to do, and it's not one of these regions where once the summer ends, you're pretty much out of luck for 9 months. A lot to do really all year round, not just a seasonal property. Access to the lake might give you that impression, but that's a mistake. There's actually a great deal going on out here. So I like this property. I think you guys will too, and while it may be our first listing in the subdivision, I do not believe it will be our last. So with all that said, let's get to the details. This is reference number RANM-7177, located up in Rio Arriba County in the northern part of the state. This is 10 acres in the El Vado Lake subdivision. And as you saw up top, this 10 acres is priced at $15,000. So as with all of our listing, guys, we got 5 GPS coordinates halfway down the page, 4 corner points in the center. Click any one of them and we will begin our journey, if you will, by bringing the property up on a map. So first, let's go to map view. Let's pull back, talk about where this is in New Mexico. I mentioned Rio Arriba County earlier. I'm sure many of you do not know the county map by heart in New Mexico, so I will tell you the Rio Arriba County borders Colorado. Colorado is to the north up here, and the subject property sits roughly about 20 miles, 20 minutes south of Colorado. Additionally, if you are not familiar with the geography of New Mexico, I'm sure you've probably heard of Santa Fe, and you've probably heard of Taos, 2 very hip, cool, happening, artsy towns up in the northern part of the state. Subject property sits roughly, if we right-click and measure distance, about 75 minutes, 75 miles as the crow flies from Santa Fe, and roughly about 60 minutes, 60 miles as the crow flies from Taos. So point being, both of those towns are not too far away really from the property, and maybe with drive time, maybe it takes about 90 minutes to drive to them. So maybe it's not something you do every day, maybe something you do on the weekends, but a lot of great nightlife to enjoy in both those places that you can take advantage of on the aforementioned weekends. So as noted, the legal description of this property is the El Vado Lake subdivision. I'm actually going to refer to it by, it's called Ranchos Del Vado. That is the name of the subdivision. So the legal is different from the sub, which we don't normally encounter. Whatever the case, it is this cutout region that you see right here. Now, I don't want to give you guys the impression that it's all this. It's not. It's a relatively small sub. If you just kind of draw a box here, really just, you've got the Rio Chama River that borders it. Of course, the words Rio Chama are not going to appear on the map when I zoom in. You have the Rio Chama River, which borders it to its west, and you've got the Rio Nutrias, which borders it to its south. So these are roughly the boundaries of the subdivision. Additionally, the 112 kind of borders it to the north. Whatever the case, the subject property sits right here along this kind of curvy road. It is this piece of land that you see right here. If we go to map view, of course, you're not going to see the plat overlay. And I'm sorry to admit that we also could not get a plat map from the Rio Arriba County offices. That being said, as always, we've got the Google Earth satellite view down here, which will give you an excellent sense of the exact size, shape, location of this property. As you can see, it's got a lot of really nice road frontage running along it here. It's got this little curvy part right here, etc. And additionally, if that doesn't do it for you, and I don't totally blame you, if you scroll down to the last photos in the gallery, the drone, the high-angle drone shots, you're going to see not only the property, but we've also done the outline of the property just to give you a sense of exactly what chunk of land you would be purchasing here and what it looks like from all the various directions. So we've got it shot from the various high-angle directions, and then we've got the outline just to give you a sense of that. As you can see, it's really pretty country out here, and it's kind of an oddly shaped property, but I like it. I think it's got a lot of character. Anyway, we'll get back to that in just a bit. A couple things I want to point out. So Ranchos Del Vado is actually part of a property owners association. And before you guys stop watching the video, because I know a lot of you don't like property owners associations, I will tell you this is the first time I've encountered one that actually seems pretty laid back about the prospect of camping or RVing on the properties. When we spoke to them, they actually indicated a lot of the people who buy land out here don't necessarily become, they don't necessarily start building a home or breaking ground on day one. But they come out there, they RV, they camp for a couple of years, and then 3 years in, that's when they start building. And so there's a lot of people who just kind of come to really enjoy the region slowly over time, and that's when they decide to relocate there. So the point is they are open to RVing and camping, and they also indicated that they're open to tiny homes and shipping container homes, which you don't normally encounter in kind of formal subdivisions like this with property owners associations. Usually they frown upon that sort of thing. This one does not. Now, I'll get into that a little bit later in the video, but the point here is that Ranchos Del Vado, this area that I showed you here on the map, has a couple really nice features. The first, of course, is the gated access that I was talking about. If we zoom in here on the map, you can see here's where the one gated access point is. This is the road that you guys would be taking to get to the subject property. Additionally, there's also gated access here along Pajarito Road, which is right here. Anyway, the point being that also gives you a nice sense of security, particularly if you are camping out in the wilderness each night, particularly if you've got a piece of land that's, whatever, 10 acres and you're camping on it. You want to feel a little safer, a little more secure. It's nice to know that you have that. That's number one. Number two, this is a subdivision that has power throughout the region. Now, if we zoom in here on the map, and actually if you kind of look at the photos in our gallery, which I'll get to in a bit, you're not going to see power lines out here at the road. This is actually kind of a notable feature. If we zoom in here on the neighbor's house, you can kind of see one power line. And if we zoom in here on this neighbor's house, you can kind of see some power lines out here. What my photographer told me is that in order to get pictures of the power lines that were on this neighbor's property, which bordered this one right here, he would have had to stand on the neighbor's driveway, which obviously nobody wants. But the point is there is power out here. It's actually right about here and obviously right at the subject property. Now, additionally, there are underground utilities in this region throughout the subdivision. I don't want to give you the impression that they are ubiquitous. My understanding is that they are not. They are not everywhere throughout the sub, but rather just within sort of the beginning of the subdivision. So the subject property actually has the underground telecom lines. That is actually out here. But a lot of properties within the region don't have that feature. So those are just some things to keep in mind. By the way, guys, in regards to the gate, if you do want to go out and scout this property, just give our office a call or shoot us an email. We will provide the gate code for you so you can get through there, so you can go out and look at the land. And obviously, if you buy the land, we're going to provide that for you. Now, one other thing I just want to point out to you here, we'll get a sense of this in the photos, but if you kind of zoom in on the map, hold down the control key, and then kind of wiggle the mouse, you're going to see that this property has a kind of interesting terrain to it. It's not all flat. It's not all hilly. It's actually a nice mix of both. Down here by the road, you've got some nice flat cutout areas where, of course, you can build. Or if you're a little more adventurous, if you want some more views, the property has kind of a bit of a slope to it on which you probably can't build. But as you get up top here, it becomes flat again. It becomes plateau-like. It's like a mesa. It's like a table up here. And you would be able to build up here, which might again give you some nicer views of the surrounding mesas as well as the lake off in the distance over there. So you've got two really good options here. One is just a flat area down on the ground, down close to the road, and the other is the higher elevation part of the property, closer to the eastern end of the 10 acres. All right, so with all that said, let's go to the photos in the gallery and let's just kind of talk about this a little bit more. So as always, we got some photos from the nearby El Vado Lake. This gives you a sense of exactly what this is like out here if you haven't been there before. This, of course, like all the lakes in the states, provides excellent opportunities for boating, fishing, jet skiing, so on and so forth. I will also tell you, hang on, I've got my notes about fish, guys. Let me get on my notes here because, of course, I can't remember anything about fish. But El Vado and Huron Lakes are two of the main trout and salmon fishing attractions in the state. Yes, I had to write that down to remember it. Point is, a lot of trout fishing out there. Additionally, nearby Rio Chama and the Rio Nutrias also provide a lot of great fly fishing opportunities. All of that, of course, very close to the property. Anyway, so more and more pictures of the lake until finally we get to, the gate at the Ranchos Del Vado subdivision. This photo and this photo, so first of all, our photographer got through it, no problem. And if you look in this one, there's actually a little key code over here that you're going to have to enter to get through the gate. So it's not like you even need to get a key and a padlock type of thing. It's actually pretty sophisticated compared to what we normally see. Anyway, so, I should also point out, you get a sense of the power lines that you see out here as you enter the subdivision. They kind of disappear a little bit later. This obviously is the road that leads out to the property. Now, it should be noted that the Ranchos Del Vado Community Association, whatever you want to call it, collects about $100 a year for road maintenance. That's mandatory. But as you can see, the roads are pretty well maintained. Nice, dirt, gravel kind of road that you could drive any kind of car on. Not something you need a big off-road vehicle to get through. Additionally, as you look at the property here, you get a sense not only of just how kind of beautiful, how kind of picturesque northern New Mexico is in general, but you can see the kind of cutout regions close to the road, the ones that are easier to build on, the flatter land down there. And then additionally, as we go through this, as my photographer starts to climb the property, you can see some of the slope, some of the incline, some of the views that would be provided up here if you built up here. He indicated there was one part of the property that gets pretty steep. Just like one part of the hillside that gets pretty steep. I'm guessing this is it. But then he gets again to the flatter areas up top, the sort of plateau-like area, the mesa up top, where again you can build, you can park, you can do whatever, and you're going to have some nicer views. Anyway, I will let you guys go through these photos on your own time. I will tell you that, as always, guys, we not only have the drone shots of the property down here with the outlines of the property, but we're also going to have a drone video down here. It's going to give you an even better sense of the property, the terrain, the surroundings. Now, a couple things I want to mention. So we got a property by a lake, and I always like to point this out. A lot of people think that these properties by lakes, these must only be seasonal properties enjoyed only in the spring and summer months. That, in fact, is not true. And what I am fond of pointing out here in northern New Mexico, if you zoom back, is within easy driving distance of this property, you not only have these two lakes, but you also have Abiquiu Lake down here. You have the Navajo Marina, which is the second largest body of water in the state. You have, as noted, the Rio Chama and Rio Nutrias rivers over here. Excellent opportunities for fly fishing. And then you've also got, so that covers you during the spring and summer months, right? But then you've also got the Taos Ski Valley over here, right? So some of the best skiing in America is just, 60 minutes east as the crow flies. Over here into Taos, into Angel Fire. Additionally, sitting just south of Colorado, as you are positioned like this, very close to Pagosa Springs, you're very close to Durango, you're very close to Telluride up here. So, the point is that you can enjoy the property also in the winter months. Additionally, if you're a hunter, you've got the Carson National Forest over here, plenty of great hunting opportunities, particularly in those winter months. And additionally, we mentioned Abiquiu Lake also down here. You've got Plaza Blanca in this region. Great area for just sort of hiking, camping, sightseeing, general photography. You've got the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum down here, which, of course, she was inspired greatly by Plaza Blanca. So, you've got an art museum right in your backyard from the great American artists. A lot to do in this region, not just a seasonal property. I'm fond of pointing this out. Additionally, I mentioned hunting before. A lot of big game hunting ranches up here, like Fishtail Ranch. Anyway, everything I just mentioned is linked here in the table under points of interest. Click any one of these links. It's going to take you to their respective websites, and you're really going to get fleshed out an even better sense of what you can do in all these places. And I'm always fond to just bring up the Navajo Dam Marina and just kind of showing their website and everything that goes on out here. This is actually a really nice website. It gives you a sense of everything that they offer out there, all the kind of boats and kayaks and everything that you can rent, houseboat rentals, etc. Obviously, a lot of that is going to be available at the nearby lakes, but Navajo Marina really specializes in that. They've really, monetized that lake, if you will. Anyway, so point is a lot to do. I'd encourage you guys to explore these links if you're not already familiar with the region. Now, with all that said, let's talk about this property owners association. Let's talk about this Ranchos Del Vado. So we have it linked up here within the second bullet point about property-specific notes. We also have it linked down here in the table. But these are the covenants and restrictions that come with the land. And this is always one of the first pieces of research I do anymore, because I know nobody wants to buy land in a subdivision where there's a million rules and, ticky-tack fines and things like that. So point being, we have a copy of the covenants here. If you read these, you're going to see these are what I consider to be what I call logical good neighbor covenants. You're also here. Let me see here. First off, they're only about 2 pages, 2.5 pages, something like that. Number 6 deals exclusively with disposing of waste. I mean, that gives you a sense of what I mean when I say logical good neighbor covenants. Additionally, these things are usually written more so to keep the riff-raff out, okay, than they are necessarily to tell you what kind of paint swatches you can use on your house. I have encountered subdivisions like that. I've encountered subdivisions where they have something called an architectural control committee, where you have to get building plans approved, and they literally can kind of second guess you on what kind of paint you want on the house. They can tell you, no, you can't have that color of paint. This is not that. This is not that. This is very laid back. Also, they don't have the architectural control committee. So my guess is anything you want to build out here, as long as it's up to code. That's certainly the impression I get from the covenants, and certainly the impression I get from talking to the people who run this organization, which is that whatever rules they have out here, it's just to, again, keep the riffraff out, keep property values maintained throughout the year, throughout time. So if you are spending a not insignificant sum like $15,000 on this land or whatever you're buying the property for, it's going to maintain its value as time goes on. No one's going to park a school bus on the lot next to you and a whole bunch of junk cars and, do God knows what over there. It's going to be for, respectable homes, respectable people who, want to live a nice kind of bucolic country lifestyle up in northern New Mexico. And by the way, if you go through these things and you read them, here, for instance, point number 3, all new construction within the subdivision shall comply with the current legal provisions enforced at the time of said construction by the New Mexico Construction Industries Division. Okay, I don't even know that you need to write that down. That one just seems obvious. That, yeah, if you're going to build something, it should be essentially up to code. So that's what a lot of these covenants are, guys. If you want to read them, if you want to, get a better sense of this, you're going to see it. It pretty much reinforces what I'm pointing out here. Number 7, no livestock of any kind shall be maintained on a tract unless properly fenced. All right, you got horses, you got cows, you got goats and chickens. As long as you got a fence, you're good. Things like that. Just don't have them wandering onto your neighbor's yard, pooping everywhere. Right? That's what bullet point number 7 is. That's what covenant number 7 is. So, point being, if you read through these, I think that you're going to see that this is a pretty reasonable subdivision. And again, our conversations with them indicate that they don't. As long as something's up to code, if you do want to build a tiny home or a shipping container, you're going to have the ability to do that. Now, a couple of the things that I want to note about this. The first one, just going back to the map here for a second, is that one of the nice things about the property is that it is surrounded by public lands. To its north, you've got, hang on a second because I want to make sure I've got this right. You've got the Rio Arriba State Wildlife Area to the north, which is essentially both of these park areas right here. Additionally, to the west and south, you've got the Rio Chama and the Rio Nutrias over here. And to the east of this subdivision is a private ranch. So a private rancher owns this area over here. So the point is, whatever views you're buying today, whatever beautiful, peaceful, northern New Mexico, majestic scenery and lifestyle you're buying today, it's not going to be disrupted in years to come. Nobody's going to come and put a Walmart up over here. Nobody's going to come and put a 10-story parking garage that's going to block your views of the lake. That's not going to happen. Because again, it's private land, it's state wildlife area, so on and so forth. So that's another one of the advantages of this, is that it's really surrounded on pretty much all its sides by land that's not going to be developed in the future. Additionally, the other nice thing about the subdivision is that all of these properties were staked and surveyed back in 1979, and those stakes still exist. So if you do go out here and you're saying, okay, I know my property is along this road here, but where exactly does it start and end over here? There's going to be stakes out there to tell you that. So you're not going to have to spend money on an expensive survey, an expensive and no doubt slow survey, like every survey I've ever gotten done in the state of New Mexico. They take way too long. So the stakes are still out there from the survey done back in 1979. That's another nice benefit of properties within this subdivision. Additionally, guys, I encourage you to read through the property-specific notes here. It's going to have a lot more about the fishing stuff, which I can't memorize. A lot of the fishing there within the nearby rivers and lakes and such. Oh, also, it should be noted, guys, water table. We actually have some data on water table in this region, which is rare. We don't usually offer that. We don't usually find it, I should say. There are wells within this subdivision that are drilled between 150 and 300 feet. I don't know if that sounds like a lot to you. I don't know if that sounds like a little to you. But that is as most as we were able to ballpark it from information that we get from the association as well as from realtors in that area. So point being, if you're going to be building out there, you're probably going to be drilling a well. You should anticipate it'll be somewhere between X and Y. And if you want to get more specific, if you want to do more research on that, as always, guys, we recommend talking to local well drillers. Obviously, down here under county contact information, we have some government offices that we like to point out. But the first thing I just want to take you to, guys, Ranchos Del Vado has a Facebook page. If you click on this, it's going to take you here. People who own land, who own homes out there, if you want to do some research on this, if you're considering spending $15,000 with us to buy this land or, buy the land from anybody else, we highly recommend, as part of your due diligence, just get on Facebook. Just ask some questions of people who live out there. Practically speaking, what is it like? What's the best part of living out here? What's the worst part? Talk to these people, find out, before you spend that kind of money. Additionally, we have the Falls Family Land website. So Ranchos Del Vado is one of these subdivisions that, as I said, a developer comes and they buy up thousands of acres of land, they chop it all up. This is actually the family that did that. These are the developers. So these are the ones who created this. So if you have questions about specifically about the covenants or about what I'm talking about with the RVing and the camping, as we say in the property specific notes, they talk about how, RVing and camping takes place up there. They don't really get into how waste is disposed of. So that's a question I would ask. If, okay, I'm going to have an RV for 3 months on your land, how am I disposing of waste? What are your rules about that? What do I need to know? Always a good idea to reach out to organizations like this or on the Facebook page. Ask those types of questions. Additionally, we're talking about tiny homes. We're talking about shipping container homes. Conversations we had with them are like, that'd be a good use for the land out here. We don't really get into, okay, but, what do you guys want from somebody who's going to build something like that aside from, plans that are approved by the state? You may want to have that conversation. That may be a conversation you want to have before you spend money like this on a property, or even to try to pursue a dream like that, okay? So those are good organizations to reach out to. That's why we include their links right here. Additionally, guys, as always, we've got the local utility company, the Emma's Mountain Electric Co-op, linked here. And we've got the Office of the State Engineer. If you're going to drill a well, if you're going to get water rights, if you're going to get a permit to drill a well, you're going to be going through this state office. So always best to talk to them. Of course, we have information on well drilling, a permit application. Click those links. It's going to bring up, just a sense of what the documents are that you're going to have to fill out, at least step 1 in that process. But it's really going to help you with your due diligence with the land. Anyway, this is a property that we had closed on through New Mexico Land and Title, so it's one that we have title insurance on. It's one that we'll be providing a warranty deed on. If this is something that you're interested in purchasing, guys, just come up here, click the Buy Now button. It's going to take you to secure checkout. We're going to ask you for $500 down. Please note, everybody, this is a non-refundable $500. This is an earnest money deposit. This is not $500 down and $100 a month for the rest of your life. This is, we want the whole $15,000, but we initiate the transaction with $500, and then we'll figure out the rest within the next 24 hours. Now, when we get in this price range, we encourage you to close through a title company, but the way that process begins is you put down the $500, legal name for deed, tax address, answer a couple of these questions, agree to the terms of service, click next, and on the very next page, you're going to enter credit or debit card information to put down that $500. Again, the $500 is an earnest money deposit. When we get into this price range, we like to recommend to our buyers close through a title company instead of handing the money directly to us and waiting for us to write a deed, which we can do quickly. We recommend title companies because it adds, number one, you're getting title insurance, which is important. If you plan on building on this land, if you're going to take out a loan to do something like that, bank is not going to insure or is not going to lend on a property that's not insured. So you're going to want that, number one. Number two, it just adds a nice kind of third-party intermediary to handle the money, to handle the drawing up of the documents, the new deed, etc. And of course, the ultimate benefit to you, the buyer, is that they do not release your money to us until such a time as the property is in your name. So if you would like to learn more about that process, guys, we have a page on our website called How It Works, Buying From Us. Follow that. It's going to take you to this page. Down here, option number 2, title closing, title escrow. This is essentially how it works. Basically what I just described, you put down money, we draft a contract, we sign it, you sign it, we submit it to the title company, and they do the rest. And about a month later, usually about a month goes by, they'll contact you for the remainder of the money. They'll contact us and have us sign a deed. And by the way, guys, if you want to see the document we're going to ask you to sign after you put down the $500, just click this link right here. It'll bring up our generic version of our standard contract that we use. Very simple, one page for signatures type of thing. Very easy, very self-explanatory, but if you'd like your attorney to review it, please do. We always encourage that. We never discourage it, I should say, etc. Anyway, so really nice property in a really nice region of the state. A lot going on up there, a lot to offer. I mean, between the hunting and the fishing and the lakes and the, all the things that you can do throughout the various seasons of the year. And with a kind of laid-back property owners association, the most you have to pay to them in the course of a year is $100 for road maintenance fees. This is a steal. This does not happen often. You don't see this in property owners associations. They're either completely negligent and allowing like a lot of trash to pile up, a lot of garbage property and people to kind of, take root in their places, or they're on top of you all the time, breathing down your neck, charging you money for nonsense. This is not that. And in that, this is rare. So I'd encourage you guys, if you're looking for property up here in northern New Mexico, a really beautiful part of the state, check this one out. It merits your time. It merits your consideration. This is a good property owners association in a really good region. Anyway, with all that said, guys, if you have any questions, leave a comment here on the YouTube. Shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com, or give us a call, 702-919-7170. As always, I appreciate your time and patience listening to me prattle on. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.